There is a silent battle we all fight every day. It cannot be seen or heard, but it shapes our decisions, our words, and our destiny. It's the struggle against ourselves. Confucius didn't speak of controlling the external world, but of mastering the inner one. He said, "The wise man is not carried away by anger, nor does he act hastily when offended, because the one who masters himself has already defeated the hardest enemy." Today, we are surrounded by stimuli that demand quick responses, notifications, judgments, reactions, urgencies. But what if we learn to pause before reacting? What if, instead of responding with emotion, we responded with wisdom? This video is an invitation to discover self-control not as repression, but as freedom. The freedom to not be slaves to our most volatile emotions. For Confucius, true power did not lie in conquering nations, but in conquering oneself. He lived in turbulent times, where kingdoms clashed and chaos reigned. Yet instead of proposing violent solutions, he proposed a silent revolution, that of character. He taught that the wise man does not seek to control others but to govern his own heart. In his philosophy, self-control is not about suppressing what we feel but about learning to govern it. It's not about being cold but about being conscious, knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait. This wisdom does not come from books but from experience and a life of constant self-observation. Confucius said, "Be strict with yourself and tolerant with others," because self-control begins by recognizing that we cannot always change what happens outside, but we can always choose how we respond. And that choice, made again and again, shapes who we are. Confucius did not speak of demons or external enemies. For him, the true obstacles lie within us. Among them, there are three that weaken our ability to practice self-control. The first is immediate impulse, that quick reaction that arises when we feel attacked, frustrated, or uncomfortable. A message that annoys us and we reply without thinking. A decision made in haste. The wise man, Confucius said, thinks before speaking and reflects before acting, because those who act on impulse often regret it later. The second enemy is the offended ego. We live hypersensitive to what others think of us. A negative comment, a look we misinterpret, and we feel wounded. Confucius taught that the virtuous person is not driven by pride, because if everything offends us, we live enslaved by others' opinions. And the third is the scattered mind. We live in an age of constant distraction. It's not that we don't know what to do, it's that we can't hold attention long enough to do it. Self-control is also the ability to stay focused, to not jump from one thing to another aimlessly. The wise cultivate inner calm, and from there, make better decisions. Talking about self-control may seem abstract, but in modern life, it becomes an essential skill for our mental health and relationships. In personal arguments, for instance, our natural impulse is to defend or attack. When someone yells at us, we feel the urge to strike back with words. But Confucius said, to respond to anger with anger is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The wise one breathes, observes, and responds with clarity. That doesn't mean always staying silent. It means choosing the time and the manner with wisdom. On social media, self-control is almost an act of resistance. Every day we face opposing opinions, provocations, and news designed to spark outrage. Confucius would invite us to ask, are you reacting or are you choosing your response? Not everything deserves our attention, and not every battle is worth fighting. Remaining silent can also be a form of wisdom. In moments of anxiety, self-control does not mean ignoring what we feel, but not letting it take over. It means acknowledging the emotion is there, but not allowing it to steer the wheel. Confucius taught that cultivating inner balance requires daily practice, not magic formulas. It is a kind of training for the soul. Self-control is not achieved through a single heroic act, but through 1,000 small, everyday choices. Confucius understood it as a quiet discipline, forged in routine, reflection, and constant intention. Start by cultivating moments of pause. Before replying to a message, before jumping into an argument, before making an important decision, breathe. You don't need much time, just a few seconds of awareness. Confucius said, "Silence is a friend that never betrays." In that pause, we often find the wisest response. Build routines that strengthen your mind. Just as the body is trained with exercise, the mind is trained with habits of attention. Reading, writing, meditating, walking without distractions. Each of these acts helps to temper character. Confucius didn't believe in instant perfection, but in steady progress. Reflect before acting. Not everything you think needs to be said. Not everything you feel must lead to immediate action. The wise observe their emotions but are not ruled by them. First, bring order to yourself, and then you can bring order to your surroundings, said Confucius. Mastery of the world begins with mastery of the self. To master the mind is not to deny it, but to understand it. It's not about silencing our emotions, but about learning to hear them without being enslaved by them. Confucius did not demand perfection. He asked for awareness. The awareness that every reaction is a choice, and each choice shapes our character. Today, more than ever, we need practical wisdom. In a world that rewards speed, the wise choose pause. In a society that shouts, the wise listen. Amid the noise, the wise turn inward, because they know that outer chaos can only be understood through inner calm. Self-control does not mean rigidity, nor does it mean living repressed. It means having a steady center from which to live with clarity. It means looking at someone who provokes you and, instead of responding with anger, responding with presence. It means no longer reacting on impulse, but living with intention. We often live as if we had no choice, but there is always a choice. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lives our freedom. The wise one, according to Confucius, is not someone who never feels anger, sadness, or fear, but someone who acknowledges them without being led by them. Someone who, in the midst of chaos, remembers who they want to be. And here's the paradox. The more you master yourself, the freer you become. The more you choose your response, the less power the world has over you. We may not be able to control the world, but we can control how we face it. And that, Confucius said, is the true victory, the victory over oneself. The world does not need more fast people. It needs more deep people. Not more noise, but more reflection. And that transformation begins with you, with a gesture, with a pause, with a daily decision to be the master of yourself.